Welcome back to Sonnie's Corner, everybody. You know how I feel about fire conversation. You know how I feel about intellectual thought, especially when it comes from black men who like to speak for themselves. Too many times, everybody likes to speak for them, speak on their behalf, but nobody likes to just turn the mic over and let them speak for themselves. That's one of the things we love to do here on Sonnie's Corner. And when we get to bring you someone from the house of Hotep, it makes me even more, it makes me more excited, it makes me more overjoyed, and it just makes me feel like, yo, you about to get blessed, because that's what the Hoteps do. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the one and only Canon Hotep to the show. What's up, brother? How you doing today?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Happy to be here.
So glad you were able to join us. This is your first time. So for all first time guests, what we do is we open up the floor, we give it to you, you start the first conversation, and we'll go from there. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Hey, my first time here. My name's Canon Hotep. I'm out of Baltimore, Maryland. I'm what you would call politically homeless now after the 2020 election. But on the other hand, what I started to see when I first got myself, when I first started paying attention to politics, is that a lot of my views that were considered, I guess, at the time, liberal back in the early 2000s, late 90s, are now lean more conservative, So when I started paying attention to a lot of things that they were talking about, I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense, I have more of a common sense approach to, the goings on of the world right now, especially when it comes to, these new mandates, especially when it comes to the state of my city of Baltimore, when it comes down to the crime and, the correlation between crime and poverty and fatherless households, but those are my passions. And I'm all about self-sufficiency, doing for self. I'm all about being a better, faster version of yourself. I'm not about excuses. I'm about how do you get around your obstacles.
And you do that in such a creative way with all of your videos, right? So I really, really, really love your videos. The last one I saw that you had me cracking up was from Hotep's Been Told You, when they said that you were probably the type that keeps a gun in your cereal bowl, and you pop up at the gun and you pull the gun out of your cereal bowl. Of course, it was camera play, but it was just so funny. And at the same time, it still delivered that message that so many of us who grew up in situations knew: always be ready, always be prepared, always be looking over your shoulder, always know your circumstance. And people today call that paranoia. We just call that life. You know what I'm saying? And just the funniness of it, but the reality of it hitting your videos, it touches us in a way that culturally gives us a political story.
Yeah, I mean, that's correct. So I did it to be funny, but at the same time, like you said, I was trying to send a message. Situational awareness, always being prepared. Too many times in the black community, especially when I was growing up, it was always this bad stigma around firearms, bad stigma around guns, you know what I mean? Which was ironic for me, because growing up in Baltimore City, there's so much gun crime going on. You would think that you would want to be able to even the playing field by, legally owning your own firearm. I never understood that. To this day, I still don't understand it. When I talk to people in the neighborhoods, like, they were like, man, why you got so many guns? And I'm like, why not? I'm like, you got to be prepared, it's sad, especially. Okay.
This is like one of the things that really made me want to start in politics. This was one of the very, very first subjects that I was like, that it doesn't make any sense to me when they don't teach gun responsibility. They teach like the gun is a monster. So instead of having kids learn gun safety, gun responsibility, the laws surrounding the ownership of a weapon, instead of actually giving them that kind of education, the 13, 14, 15-year-old boys are getting the gun from their cousin, and their cousin is telling them point and shoot. So they're not like by keeping this information from them, you are not helping them, because once they pull that trigger, then the courts got them, then the police got them, then they're in a completely different situation, where if you could have just had those real responsibility conversations with those kids up front, a lot of them wouldn't pull the trigger in the first place.
That's right, because once you pull that trigger, that's when the fight really begins. A lot of people don't understand that. You know, the biggest rule of being a gun owner is, knowing when to walk away from a fight. Knowing when to de-escalate, when to get away from that. And like you said, a lot of these kids, they get it from their cousins, or, the dope boy on the corner, or this and that, and they get this false sense of security and this false sense of invincibility when they got their gun in their hand. Like when it comes to Baltimore, we're on record. I think we hit 330 murders this year, despite having we only got 300,000 people in the city. You know what I mean? And, and when you look at that, and you try to correlate like why this is happening, the biggest thing is, and you hear it all the time, that we need more laws on the books. We need more laws on the books. But, Baltimore is or Maryland has some of the strictest gun laws in the United States, other than like Chicago, New York, California. You know what I mean? But it's like, okay, if we got all of these gun laws on the books already, then why are we still having this murder problem? Why are we still having this gun violence problem? And it's because they're not enforcing the laws on the books. It's because they're making it harder for law-abiding citizens to own guns. We all know that criminals don't care about that. Criminals won't go get those guns by any means necessary.
And this is one of the funny things about what we're seeing currently, right? So, like currently we're watching all of these states go soft on crime, and letting people out of jail for armed robbery, for, but if you are illegally carrying a gun, without a crime attached, they're not going to let you out. Like, you're going to face the stiffest penalties possible. Like, they're going to make sure you, who maybe just didn't fill out the paperwork the right way, or you haven't done anything with the gun, just your possession of it, they're going to make sure you're fully criminalized. But the people that are actually doing the crimes, they're the ones that are getting out with little to no bail at all. Like, they are really changing the dynamic of what it means to be a criminal.
Yeah, they are. And the thing about it is that, like, there's another thing about here. When you look at these people committing these murders, right, and you go back and you look at their rap sheet like 17, 18 pages long. And I'm like, damn, they should have been locked up like 16 pages ago. You know what I mean? But when they commit the ultimate act of taking somebody's life, that's when they want to, act on it. I'm like, but you could have prevented that. You know what I mean? But on top of that, like you said, you could have a well-meaning citizen who not meaning to take anybody's life, that just want to carry that gun for protection. They'll throw the book at them.
Yep.
And but then when you got a criminal, for example, I told a story before where I had to go and appeal a speeding ticket. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting to see the judge, and I'm sitting in the courtroom, and this kid comes in. He had been about 18 or 19 at the time, I'm assuming. So he was charged with illegal possession of a firearm, discharging the firearm. He ran from the police and threw the firearm. He was arrested. He got before the judge. His lawyer went up there and said, well, his father's not in the house, and, he has these circumstances, this and that. And the judge just looked at him and dismissed the case. And I'm sitting there like, I'm here. I got to appeal a speeding ticket. Meanwhile, this kid he had a firearm. He was shooting it around in the neighborhood, ran from the police and all this other stuff, and I seen him in the elevator. I said, dude, you probably one of the luckiest people I've ever seen in my life. There's no way you should have got off on that. But that's what happens a lot here. That's what happens a lot in, like, these liberals and democratic strongholds. You'll see that. You're seeing it now. Look at what's going on in California right now. They literally robbing stagecoaches right now. Trains and stuff like that. And they keep moving the goalposts so they don't have to arrest them. But it's almost like it's just a disservice to the law-abiding citizens who have to deal with that.
And see this, and this is something that I've been talking to a lot of my my male people that are close to me. They are talking about having the power to stop it themselves. Like, they can't count on the police. They can't count on the district attorneys. Like, they cannot count on the functions of government to be the stewards of their communities. But at the same time, if they stand up and they are like, okay, we're going to take down Pookie and Pookie's crew, because Pookie and Pookie's crew, if you take them out, that's 40% of the murders. Like, they're gone if you take out Pookie and Pookie's crew. The police won't touch them. But if we go to touch Pookie and them, then we are going to be punished, and Pookie and them are going to still be free to do what they do. And this is the problem that a lot of men in our communities are facing. When you have a feckless governmental system that doesn't do what it's supposed to do, and at the same time is telling you that you are not allowed to be a steward in these communities. Because a lot of the former gang bangers that went to jail and got out, when they come home, they want to go in and straighten things out. They want to go in and try to stop these kids from going the same route that they went.
Yeah.
But there's laws that say that they can't talk to the kids. They can't organize with the kids, because felon on felon, you can't do that. Like, there are so many roadblocks put into place that stop Black men from being able to be like the stewards that they want to be in their communities.
It's almost like it's being done on purpose, right?
Purpose.
You know what I mean? You know, and I know so many of those guys who went in and they got out and they, like, you know, they try to talk to these kids and they're like, man, look, you don't want to go down the route I went, you know. But like you said, there's so many roadblocks where it's not allowed. It's not allowed. They, you know, but, you know, like, for example, you know, my family, we're a second chance employer. And a lot of the guys that work with us, they try to talk to these young kids in the streets, you know what I mean? And they try to get to them early, because me personally, I always said, like, once a young man turns like 13 years old, you got a hell of a job ahead of you trying to reach that kid at that point. You know what I mean? Because now he's considered, he's a man. He don't think he think that, you know, his ass don't stink and he can do whatever he want, you know. But if you can reach them younger, you know, like, you know, elementary school, maybe just getting into middle school, you got a good chance, you know, especially like in a city like Baltimore where, you know, a lot of these kids don't have dads. They don't have fathers or father figure. You know, they got their mom, and their mom might have 2-3 jobs, and she ain't got time to worry about them. She ain't got time to put that, you know, that nurture into them. And, you know, we you know, humans, we're pack animals. We want to belong to something. So when you got these kids who have been neglected or not having any attention paid to them by their parents, they're going to go look for it somewhere else. You know, I always have a scenario, because it happens so much here in Baltimore, where you'll have a kid like that, right? And then this kid, you know, he goes out on the street. Maybe he ain't got the best clothes on, whatever. He getting, you know, cracked on in school or whatever. And he outside, and he see that dope boy in the corner. Dope boy then took an interest in him. Now that dope boy say, hey, yo, come here. I got something for you to do. You know, kid over there, like, what's up? You know, he said, just take this right here, give it to you over there in that car. You know, he go do that. He's like, all right, here go $100. You know, now this kid just got from that dope boy what he been trying to get from his mother or his, you know, or his father, whoever, uncle, forever. You know, he got some attention and he just got a purpose. You know what I mean? So now this kid is out here now striving to be like that dude that just gave him $100. Now he like, you know, you need some money, you come holler at me, you do a couple things for me, I got you. And now this kid caught up in the game, and that happens so much here. You know, simply because we don't have good role models. You know, a lot of these kids don't have good role models, and the role models we look forward to is the guys in the street.
And I think too, to add to that, and I know like people don't like it when I bring this in and add this to the conversation, but this is how they get their introduction to capitalism. So the whole system that they've been put in the entire time, and people really need to understand this, whether if their family is like on welfare, especially, and they see the government help, so the government is taking care of us, right? Well, the government taking care of you sucks. Like, look at what it looks like when the government takes care of you. You live in crappy housing, you live in a crime-ridden community, you go to a crappy school. Like, you are surrounded by the equality of poverty, right? That is their idea of what government taking care of you looks like. And they run from that idea. And they run towards capitalism because it's like, okay, I will be able to take care of myself. I can feed myself. I can clothe myself. I can defend myself. I can and that is what they are striving for. And this is the way I try to tell Republicans and conservatives this. They're striving for our principles. They want what we believe in. They just don't have access to get there. And the one way that they do get access is through destructive capitalism, is through that black market capitalism. But they are taught all of the basic principles. So they're taught supply and demand. They're taught having integrity within business. Like they're taught the basics of how economics run. If we can take what they are taught and get them to keep that hunger, just be able to refocus it towards something legal, I think we can do a lot to change an entire generation.
I think you're 100% right with that. I mean, like you said, they're taught supply and demand. They're taught, customer base, stuff like that. They're taught, essentially, they're being taught to be entrepreneurs at that point in time. Yep. You know what I mean? But like you said, it's just misguided. I remember back in, when I was in high school, we had a bunch of vocational schools back back when I was in school. I'm not that old. I graduated 2003, but we had certain schools had auto shops. Certain schools had, electrical programs or HVAC programs. Certain schools had, cosmetology for the girls, and we don't have that anymore. We don't have those anymore. We used to have a West Side Skills Center where people could go and learn, IT and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff's gone by the wayside, and these kids don't have any other recourse. A lot of these kids aren't cut off for college, but he might be a hell of a mechanic. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But they don't have these resources,
and they're taught, and that's where they're taught that the trades are like beneath, and this is another function of these progressive schools. Like the reasons they took the trades out, they were like, okay, well, black people have this legacy of slavery, and if we're going to put them into a manual labor kind of education, that we're not doing them any good, so we need to give them a classical liberal arts. That was their thinking to get us away from the trades. Like it was somehow beneficial to us to separate us from recession-proof industries with high wages, like you said earlier, almost like it was being done on purpose.
Right. I got a homeboy right now that he conservatively has to make $150,000 a year fixing cars out of the back of a van. You know what I mean? That's what they don't tell these kids. They might not be the sexiest jobs, but you can make a lot of money doing them. Like you said, like I said, it's almost like it's been done on purpose. A girl, a young lady can make, a boatload of cash, doing hair or nails and stuff like that. We don't see that in our community, especially because they run to, the Asian stores and stuff like that. We don't see a whole lot of those things here because, it's what's the word? It's being conditioned out of them. You know what I mean?
I'm going to stand up for my sisters, right? Because my sisters is producing some bundle companies these days. Like the sisters have caught on to how to play this little game, and I have more of my female friends doing the bundle service. Like, no, we will deliver your bundles to your door. So I think that you're seeing a lot of, especially black women, no, I'm gonna figure out how to eat more off of this that was being offered to us before. Because a lot of us, I don't even think if we're really going to get quality bundles, we're not going to a store anymore. We're going to our Connect. You know what I'm saying? So
which it should be.
Which I give a shout out to the sisters for that.
Yeah, because who know black hair better than the sister? You know what I mean? And that's what it and that's great because now they're starting to break out of the matrix, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I can do this on my own. Why am I going over here and buying this when I can get it from my sister down the street? You know what I mean? Why am I buying a chicken box from over here when I can go to Tyrone's Chicken? You know what I mean? Like we just got to teach, we got to teach that, to try to keep the money in our community, but not only keep the money in our community, we got to teach these kids that they can do it on their own, you know. But it's like I said,
I would
it's
rather
tough.
what I rather teach them is they don't have to do it on their own. Like that's why the Hoteps are here. So like you can go and you can listen to Hotep Jesus and crypto and learn some stuff. You don't have to do it on your own. You know what I'm saying? You can like you can come to Canon Hotep and you can learn about the Second Amendment. You don't have to do it on your own. Like that we are this group now that are very diversified in all of the areas that we are touching. And so whatever our youth want, we have somebody in our
Hmm.
circle now that covers that, so you don't have to do it alone. And I think with the invent of the internet and with social media, the ability we have now to reach them in a way we could not reach them before is extraordinary. So I
Yeah, no,
think
I
that
completely agree.
yeah.
I
Go
completely
ahead, you
agree
can
with
wrap
us.
it
I
up.
mean, like they can make their own lane.
Yeah.
We're definitely the resources we're definitely the resource. We're definitely out there. We're definitely out there willing to give the knowledge out and put them on the right path. But a lot, I'm all about, like I said, I'm all about doing for self and trying to be more self sufficient. And these kids can create their own lane. But and
Yes.
we are the resource to teach them.
And I think that's one of the things that makes me most excited when I watch your videos. Like I said, you understand the messaging, you understand putting a point in there, but you also understand humor and bringing a culture into it. So I think you are a complete gem when it comes to the content that you put out, and I am really, really glad that I have a chance to follow you.
I appreciate it, and I really, really thank you. Like I said, you got to put the humor in there to keep people's attention. But yeah, we got to get the messaging out there. We gotta put it out there. I know with Hotep Nation, we're starting a homeschool initiative where we're trying to, help parents who are afraid that maybe these mandates are coming down the line where it's going to be a part of their kid's schedule and they're going to have to do it and they don't want to, or even just they're not happy with the curriculum that the school's teaching. We're trying to put these resources in place where the parents can access them and get on the right path to homeschooling their children or the community.
I'm looking forward to following all that. We have to go, but we'll make sure we get you back on the show. Thank you so much for the fire conversation. I really, really appreciate it. You cannot underestimate how much.